Welcome to Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX and KWBY, and again on Saturday morning at 9 on KATX and KWBY as Angela Robinson joins Terry Slavens to share important financial information to help you live life on purpose. Insurance, investments, estate and tax planning, and much more. All covered now on Life Planning 101.
A very pleasant good Monday morning, everyone. Welcome into Life Planning 101 right here on KTX KWBY. Terry Slavens with you, and I'm joined as always by Angela Robinson. Good morning, Angela.
Good morning. We've got a light topic for this morning. We always have one, right here on Life Planning 101. You would sometimes wonder if this should be Morbid Planning 101. And that's what we've got. We're going to be talking about death. It happens, right?
It's a fact of life.
It is a fact of life. And the question is your family ready for yours? I love Woody Allen when he said, it's not that I'm afraid to die, I just don't want to be there when it happens. If you really think about it, his quote was funny, but in reality, how much truth is there in that when it comes to you and your family? Do you want to be there when it happens? Or would your wife be killing you anyway? Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I tell you what, I wrote this radio show before something happened last week, and we lost a dear friend of ours unexpectedly. Wasn't supposed to happen. In fact, the guy, wonderful, wonderful man, had everything planned out in life and was very much looking forward to retiring this year, and he didn't get to it. And he left a child behind that's young and in shock, and, it's just, we don't think that these things can happen. We don't think that they would happen. We're all invincible, in a sense, or at least they're not going to happen to us, right? But really, we're not invincible. And there, I started looking up some research. I thought, how many people actually don't make it to retirement? And I found an astonishing figure that 20% of men die before retirement age.
Wow, 20%.
Think about that. That's 2 in every 10 men.
I wouldn't have thought it would be that high.
No, you wouldn't, right? Doesn't happen to me. And the way I kind of thought about that is like, my gosh, the odds in Vegas can be worse than that in reality.
Sure.
2 in 10, that's nothing. And the fact is that people show up to gamble in Vegas every day, but they don't plan for this. So, the question is today, have you planned for it? What's going to happen to your wife if you were the one to get hit by a Mack truck or just fall over dead? Would she be able to continue on as normal and usual? And, I found that all the years that we've been working with people, and my dad will say the same thing, is that, husbands and wives don't love each other any less as the years go on. They love each other more. And you want more for your spouse if something were to happen. And you want them to not have to think. You want them to not have to make decisions. And, are they going to be able to do that? Are they going to be forced to make drastic changes? Sell off things. We watched, my goodness, we've had a run of it because we had another dear friend pass away at 45 last year. And his wife basically is forced to downsize everything because he refused to do the planning that he needed to do. He was that invincible guy that nothing was ever going to happen to. She's gone back to work. She hasn't worked in over 30 years, and of course she can't find a job that pays her much because it's basically like starting over with a career as a 20-something-year-old, right? Probably worse because you think about how much computers have changed technology. It's even harder for people to go into the workforce after being out of the workforce for so long. We witness that when we hire people it's a hard thing. It's something that we look at really seriously, because if we're going to have to train them just how to send an email, for example, how much does that slow us down, right?
Yes, the expense of getting someone up to speed.
Yeah, and this is something that people, they don't think about. Well, they think, oh, well, my wife is capable. She can go back to work. Sure she can. Sure she's smart. But how much does she miss that she can't get paid for? If someone's not, that's going to create a lack of marketability. And that's a real thing, and people don't think about that. And do you want her to go back to work? In reality, if you've got kids at home, I'm going to believe that answer is no. You're going to want her to be focusing on those children and not be raised by a stranger. If your kids are grown and she's close to retirement, again, my answer is probably going to be no, because you're not going to want her to have to worry about having to work the rest of her life. So, we don't think about these things, but we always say they can always do it. Yeah, they can do it. Women, I'm one of them. We're resilient. There's no doubt about it. And I'm picking on men today because women often are the ones with the insurance, with the planning in place to take care of their husbands. And I'm one of those too. We always laugh that I'm worth more dead than my husband is. But in reality, I love my husband. I guess I just love him more than he loves me. I don't know. But the truth is that, what's going to happen? And what about your kids? Who's going to care for them? Who's going to raise them? What about their education? What did you have planned out? What did you talk to them about? We've seen this. This is a real deal, and widows have a very hard time with this. It's just happened over and over and over again, where a successful couple has promised their kids everything, right? We're going to send you through school. We're going to pay for it all, yada, yada. One of the parents passes away. Well, guess what they still do?
Yeah, they still are facing the same situation. How are they going to do that and pay for that education?
Yeah, and most of the time, you know what they do? They do pay for the education. But the problem is where it's put them now and
Right.
what they're faced with. What they're having to make is some severe life-altering, rest of their life changes to put two kids through school at $50,000 a year.
And Angela, if you have a woman who hasn't been in the workforce for 10, 15, 20 years, and say they're in their 50s, unfortunately, the jobs available are very limited.
That's right. And I think a lot of times people say, well, I don't have kids, or I don't have a wife. I'm not married. Well, we forget about our kids in the same situation. The friend I told you passed away this last week, didn't have a wife, but his kids are having to stop everything that they're doing to take care of his stuff. So what does that mean for their careers? What does it mean for their families? What does it mean for their marriages? Think about these things. And the more complicated your situation is, the more you need to plan. You own a business? My gosh, who's going to run that business? If you own a ranch, who's going to run the ranch? What's going to happen? How's this going to play out? Who's going to be fighting over what, right? And how can you avoid all of that? Death, it's real. It happens. And, Woody Allen said, I'm not afraid to die. I just don't want to be there when it happens. Yeah, it's funny, but it's real. We always talk about the reason that we promote this so much is because, unfortunately, most of our job is cleaning up messes rather than helping people avoid the messes to begin with. And if people would only take this seriously and plan it out, they may not have that mess, right? But when we come back, I want to talk about some ideas for you to think through and how you might want to think about this a little bit different, and maybe just at least be able to put something in place within a matter of minutes that could change your family's life if something did happen to you. Right here on Life Planning 101. You don't want to miss it.
segment 2, Life Planning 101, right here on KTX KWY. Angela has some great information. Angela?
Yeah, so we're talking about, I sound so positive when I say that, death, right? But it's real. And, I always wonder, why do people not plan for it? And, I think it goes back to financial priorities and what seems to be a priority in people's lives. And if you Google what are the biggest financial priorities for people, paying their current bills today and then figuring out how to do retirement is usually what people focus on. And college is number 3 for their kids, right? So perhaps that's why, get this, nearly half the people that die every day in the U.S. die without any life insurance. Nearly half of them.
Really?
Yes. And even out of those, most of them are underinsured.
And I wonder what the percentage is the only life insurance they have is what's provided at work.
Oh, that's a huge percentage, actually. And I almost put that down, and I didn't write it down, but I saw that last week, and I was astonished by it. And that's so true, and it's so small. People think I'm okay. I've got, $100,000 through my work. Why wouldn't you really think about what $100,000 is? That might not even be your mortgage.
Right.
Right? But let's put that in income sense, right? So if we were managing someone's money and they were able to, stomach an 8%, potential return, we'd tell them you could take 4% of that a year in income terms, maximum. So what does that mean? $4,000 a year. Can you live off $4,000 a year?
No.
You can live off $4,000 a year. But a lot of people have that for insurance, right? And so why don't they look at getting more? And, I really think it comes down to there's a ton of misconceptions. It's not a priority, like we talked about. Maybe it's just too time-consuming. People believe that. Maybe you don't know how to buy it. I think that's a big one. There's so much out there. People don't trust insurance companies. They don't trust insurance agents. Most insurance agents are very salesy. They're scared of that, scared of being sold something that they don't want or need, or someone in their family's had a bad experience with it. We hear this all the time. Maybe you think it's too expensive. You can't afford it. And, maybe you don't think you need it because you're healthy. I believe it or not, people say that. I don't need to get that right now. I'm healthy.
That's when you need to get it.
That's when you need to get it. That's when it's the cheapest and the best policies you're going to be able to find for your family, right? Because you don't know if you're going to get hit by a Mack truck. You don't know if you're going to end up with high blood pressure next year, and that ends up causing that premium to double, right? I want those things to happen. And my dad, he's always saying and asking this. I love this. He says, you will never change your mind based on what you already know. Would you agree with that, Terry?
Yes.
You're never going to change your mind based on what you already know.
It's the unknown.
Right. However, you're right. If I give you new information, could you possibly change your mind?
Sure.
Absolutely. So what I want to do is I want to give these people that have all these misconceptions in their heads some new information to really think about and consider. Because, especially after last week, you need to have stuff in place. You just don't know. 20% of men die before retirement. Think about that. 2 in 10. Are you that too? Think about that. Get it in place. So, time-consuming. Let's get to time-consuming because I think this is a big one. And there are so many carriers out there today that carry life insurance. There are so many carriers out there today that are fighting for life insurance. So what does this mean for you? Everything's becoming electronic, short applications, and technologies allowing quick underwriting. We've been able to help people get insured for up to $1 million without even getting poked and prodded. They don't have to get a blood test. They don't have to do a urine sample. And everything is an electronic application and a telephone interview, and that's all they have to do. Think about that. Within a week, you have $1 million of insurance. So time-consuming is out the window. It's not that way anymore. That's the way it used to be. It's not that way anymore. What if you didn't know how to buy it? Well, there's an app for that, right? And that's knowing how much you need. That's the biggest thing about insurance, is knowing how much you need and making sure you have that. And there is a great little free app. You can go to your little app store and download it. It's called the Life Happens app. We've actually done this on the show before, where we downloaded and we went through the numbers. And I remember watching your face, Terry, across the table when you were punching your numbers in. But it's simple. You download it, and you just follow the directions, and it pops out and tells you how much insurance you need. How easy could it get? You don't even have to talk to somebody to know if you've got enough insurance, as long as you're entering everything correctly. Okay, so what about it being expensive? Let me just give you something here. You might be shocked to know how little it actually costs. A 39-year-old male can get a $400,000 policy for less than $19 a month.
That's cheap enough.
$19 a month. If
Not even $1 a day.
$19 a month at 39 years old, you probably need more planning than just life insurance. And more than that, it's easy to find out. So what we have done, we set this up actually a couple of years ago on our website at kennedy-financial.com. You can actually go on there, and we've got an insurance quoter. We're independent, so obviously we don't work with one company, so there's so many carriers that come through there, and they actually take your information once you plug it in and pop out the best quote for you. Not too bad. We've debunked it's time-consuming. We've debunked you don't know how to buy it, and we've debunked it was expensive. So when we come back, what about not being sold something, and what about what you don't know? Right here on Life Planning 101. You don't want to miss it.
Final segment, Life Planning 101. Angela?
Yes, and we're talking about death. Not a comfortable subject, but one that everybody needs to have top of mind, because it's when you don't have it top of mind. And I even had someone tell me this last week, they said, they tried to tell me, they tried to get me involved, and I just wouldn't do it. And they're regretting it now, because they should have done some planning, and then their life has been changed forever because of that. So what is your objection? What is your objection to actually making sure that your family is taken care of? We talked about going on that Life Happens app, making sure you have enough life insurance, figuring out how to buy it, right? A lot of people don't even want to talk to an agent anymore. I find, a lot of millennials out there don't like to talk at all on the phone. They'd rather do everything by computer. Well, you can do it now. Like I mentioned before the break, you can go to our website, do it yourself, and you can plug in. It'll pop out 20 different carriers, and you pick the company that you want to do business and go through. And if you've got questions, we're there to be able to answer questions electronically. So, your options are totally wide-based. There should be no reason that you don't have enough insurance for your family. And I think that's something that people, they always say at the end of the day that they wish they had more life insurance, but the people that are telling us that are the ones that can no longer get it, because now they're unhealthy and it's too late. And so when you're healthy, when you're able to do it, don't wait till something happens. Get it now, right? It's, a lot less money that way, and it's a guarantee that way. And on that note, when you're doing it, don't just buy the cheapest thing out there. Buy something that is what you call convertible. Not renewable, convertible, okay? Big difference. Because my question to people all the time is, what if you found out you were terminal with something in year 19 of a 20-year policy, and at the end of 20 years, you didn't have any options to keep the thing in place? Would you want the option to keep $1 million in place if you had the option to? What would that be worth to you? An extra $15 a year? To most people, I think it is. So, make sure that you're asking that question, so you know how much you need, and you know you need to get something that has conversion, allows you to convert, right? So be sure to tweet us at KFS Life Planning. Yes, is your family ready for yours? I know that's a very harsh question. It's a very serious question. It's a very real question, and you need to be asking yourself this. And if you're scared to ask yourself this, then I'm going to guess that the answer is no, and you need to make this a top priority for your family. If you're not scared to address this, but you just don't think something will happen to you, again, go back to the story I just told you at the beginning about our dear friend that passed away this last week. It wasn't supposed to happen to him, of anybody, right?
We all think it won't ever happen to us.
That's exactly right. So just do it for your family. If you love them, do it. Get everything in place that you need to get in place. Go to that Life Happens app to at least say, I love you, and I either know you're taken care of or we need to do something today. Make sure you visit us at Kennedy-financial.com. All of this information is there. This entire article with all the information we've talked about, from the app to the insurance quotes to being able to figure out what's right for you, is on our article this week. It's called Death, It Happens. Is your family ready for yours? I'm pretty sure you'll be able to pick that out if you've been listening to the show. But that's at Kennedy-financial.com. And if you have questions, be sure to send us a notice from there, and don't hesitate. You know, I sometimes feel like God gave us purpose in life to be in this business, to be able to help people and make sure that they aren't making a misstep to hurt their families just because they don't know. And we want to make sure that we're educating people and informing people, and that's our biggest priority. So please ask your questions. Let us know what's on your mind, what you're worried about, or what may be holding you back from being able to tell your family, I love you, by getting them the right amount of insurance in place to protect them. With that, my name is Angela Robinson with Kennedy Financial Services. God bless everyone. Have a great week, and hopefully we'll be on a lighter note next week.
Thank you for joining us for Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX and KWBY, and again on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock on KATX and KWBY for more Life Planning 101.
Advisory services offered through Smart Money Group, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Calton & Associates Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Kennedy Financial Services Incorporated is an independent of Calton & Associates Incorporated and Smart Money Group, LLC.